So in this video, we're going to be looking at common mistakes that brand new e-commerce stores make. Obviously, we get excited, we want to get our product live, we want to start selling it, we want to show it to the world. But there's then traps that these brand new e-commerce stores fall into. And actually, we've been very lucky that one of my friends has launched a new site, kind of been working on it in the background, has now asked me to have a look at it. And he said it's okay that I basically do the overview with you guys in public to explain what we think needs to be changed to the website to increase the likelihood of people buying from it. So let's check it out. So this is the e-commerce store that we're going to be looking at. So just to start with, when we first load in, it's really important that we basically have around 5 seconds for someone to decide if they like the appearance. Are they offering the thing that I'm after? So we need to make sure it's crystal clear as soon as we land on that site what our offering is. So if we then cycle around, I don't have a way of controlling this. I know I do, although that wasn't very clear. Let's flick back. So it says here, discover our range of fragrances. We have scents to suit every mood, okay? The likelihood is, and this, I'm not a huge fan of these scrolling elements because generally, whilst I'm waiting for these to load through, I've already scrolled down the page. So having 5 or 6 options in here becomes redundant. Personally, I would have maybe 1, maximum of 2 to try and get across a message. But you'll see most e-commerce stores now have something fairly static and they just make sure it really showcases what it is. So going back to this example of this 5-second rule, do I immediately know what we're offering based on this title and this image? No. So these need to be considered. Are we being crystal clear on what these options are? And I'm aware we're not necessarily sending everyone straight through to the homepage, but these are things that we do need to consider. This example at least does do a better representation of it to at least show it. Although it looks like it's a fake image, it doesn't look like an actual photo. So that probably needs to be considered as well. We want to make sure it feels genuine. As we go down here, we've then got these different options. I would also say that, working left to right, our most prominent, our most important option should always be on the left. It's the first thing the user is going to see. So actually, our fragrance is the most important thing. Again, probably up for discussion here. Or should we be getting people into the fragrance system first and then buying? And then when we get further down, we've basically just got an image here with a little bit of real estate, but we're not really doing any salesmanship. We're not really signposting the user anywhere. And I feel like this is a lot of missed opportunity that we could really do something with the site, whether that's showcasing credibility or what people are saying. Could we have testimonials here? Could we have some galleries from some of the social media or what people are using? Or even just more information around what the overall offering is. I think there's a lot of things that are being missed here that could be really taken advantage of. Now let's focus on this menu system, right? This is how people are going to navigate. So first off, we don't need the word home. I think everyone, or 99.9% of the world, knows that the logo on the left-hand side is going to do the same as the home. So we can strip that out. From a hierarchy point of view, is how important is that About Us page? Does it need to be one of the first items in the menu? Can it be shoved further over to the right? Or could it just be hidden down in the footer? Again, not totally sure we need access to that from this homepage to start with, which then means our focus can be more on actual shopping options. So do I want to look at the oils? Do I want to look at the system? Next one is news. Let's have a quick look at news. How often is your news going to be updated? So this hasn't been updated in about a month's time now. So realistically, if we're not going to be doing the news, let's just not have it on there for now. Let's focus the user on the buying journey completely, simplify the options down and make it crystal clear what we want the user to do. Contact again is fine, but realistically on an e-commerce store, do we need that at this precise moment? Can that just be hidden down here in the footer? We don't actually have there you go. Can it just be hidden down here in the footer? Which then means the options all of a sudden are very much buy oils, buy our system, or look at these basket options. It simplifies it down heavily, makes it really clear what we want the user to interact with, and feels like a better use of space. How much we have the user scrolling down the page is also really important, right? We want to make it as simple as possible for users to navigate the system. So we have this at the top here that says fragrance system, takes up a lot of real estate before I have to scroll down. Not totally sure it's even needed to be there, if I'm honest. It'd be much easier for us just to get into this section and then have these options. So I've got the wisp, I've got the mini wisp, I've got the fragrance stone. It's strange that I don't have a price from this category page. I feel like that should be highlighted to me, and that should be referenced here. So like I also can't click on these imagery. So I can't click on the title either. So I have to click on this buy button. I'm also not, from a micro content point of view, I'm not necessarily buying now. That feels like a buy. Well, it says buy now. So it would suggest if I press that button, I'm going to end up with the item in my cart. And that's actually not the case. If I do hit that, I end up on a page that explains it in more detail to me. So I would say if I just flick back a page, we really need to consider what this page is about. We need to have some form of indication of price on here. Everything really should be clickable. And this micro content button needs to be like learn more or some information around it. There's no issue with us having a buy now button from categories. And actually, that's a really popular thing to do to shorten out the user journey. You could have a buy button next to it that genuinely does add it to the cart. But the problem we've got at the moment, I just don't have enough information, especially without the price, to know if I should buy from this point. So let's have a look at a proper individual product page for these guys now. So again, first thing we've got is the Mini Wisp fragrance plugin. At the top of the page, we're taking up a lot of real estate to be able to get into here. So I have to scroll down to then actually see the information. If you consider most standard e-commerce stores, we get straight into the main image with some information on the right-hand side. It just means that we're getting into what we need to as quickly as possible. And I think this is a trick that we're missing here. We don't really need that title to then have that title again. We'd probably just look to remove that information. So we start a little bit higher up the page. We do have some imagery in place, but again, it's a little bit higgledy-piggledy, a technical term there. But we're jumping between things, right? So we've got a portrait image, we've then got landscape image that's quite small, we've then got another landscape one and another one still. I want to make sure all of the imagery is the same size. It just shows attention to detail. And also these imagery are too small for me to really see anything around them. I'm going to show an example of a different website in a minute that uses this area really, really well. So we'll go through that shortly. Looking at this section here, this information actually, if I read it, is genuinely quite useful. It explains that there's a Bluetooth app that comes with it, the scheduling, it's like a diffusion technology. There's lots of useful information in here, even how long it lasts, the capacity. But this block of text is a lot to take in. There's a lot to read here. This information really needs to be broken up, made more digestible. Now, whether that is with bullet points or icons or different references that we could have in here, but there's a lot of text there for us to have to take in. So we just really need to consider how that's done. The text then says add to cart, which again makes a lot more sense. It would also, for me, make sense that maybe I could add on some fragrances at this point. So like, hey, yeah, I do want to buy that. Can I buy it with some additional fragrances as well? But we don't seem to have that option at the moment. Again, I'm going to try show an example shortly of this and how this could work really nicely. But at the moment, there's some of these elements that need considering. Again, we've got the information further down the page with a description, the additional information and that sort of stuff. It's all useful. It's just how it's presented it's very blocky. There's a lot to have to read here. So we really need to simplify how that is done. Even sections with this with like bullet points to make this stand out a little bit more would make a lot of sense for the user to have. Hierarchy of content is also really, really important. So for example, we're really highlighting around having a coupon here. Now, if they're doing a lot of coupon offerings and discounts at the moment from a marketing point of view, that's great. If this isn't a main marketing avenue for them, then we probably don't need to have this so heavily highlighted. It could be further down the page. I appreciate from a returning customer's point of view, we do want to push them to log in. But again, it feels like we're pushing everything down the page a bit. We need to consider how this is laid out a little bit more. Everything feels really tight as well. And you've got some information here like this. So this is obviously your title text, and then it goes into it. So billing details, and I'm putting all my information in. But then randomly shipped to a different address is also incredibly large. And then there's not a lot of spacing here between some of this information, so it feels really disjointed. There's also stuff that we are asking the user to fill in that we don't necessarily need to complete the order, but we're saying that it's an adamant that they have to. So we have to give our birthday. We have to give a fragrance preference for us to be able to order. I feel like those should be optional options. We want to really shorten the number of things that the user has to fill in, because the less we ask from them, the more likely they are to fill it in. So we really need to consider that as well. Now, as we get down, we do have Klarna in place, but at no point do we reference Klarna beforehand. So if we're going to have Klarna built in, we can't only tell them once we're at the buying point. It's just too late in the journey. So we really need to consider that. So again, you've got this pay in 30 days, and then you've got this interest. And that really, how the website is set up, feels like that's what we're really trying to force the user to do. Even the PayPal button is quite hard to click. It's a little bit funny laid out. It's right next to this other button. It needs a little bit of space to really pad that out a little bit. It's quite hard to navigate this payment page, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're losing people because of this. It just doesn't feel particularly intuitive to navigate and interact with. So these are really common things because the standard kind of form that you get in these WordPress builds is fairly simple. And then what happens is you want to add in a plugin like Klarna, and if you try to do this without the use of a developer, it's working, but it's a little bit messy, and that's where these issues have kind of arisen from. So we just really need to kind of figure out how that's going to be laid out. Now, this isn't perfect by any stretch of imagination, but it is doing some really great things here. First off, we're really highlighting the imagery. This is genuine imagery. It's not Photoshopped. Well, it might be Photoshopped a little bit, but it's not completely Photoshopped. It's very clear that we're trying to make the imagery, the actual product itself, the hero. And then the other thing that we're doing over here on the left-hand side is we're immediately building credibility by showcasing testimonials. We're referencing little things like the limited edition, which is quite nice. And we're really making this a focal point. You'll see from the menu system that everything is very much shop related here. This is where we're trying to drive the user to. They have kept the About Us page on the top menu, but it's moved over to the right-hand side, kind of out the way, with our main options. Again, thinking of this hierarchy of left to right, with left being the most important, this is where our areas should be. We're then highlighting the products in here, and this is doing a couple of things that I feel like we were missing from the other website. We've obviously got some imagery. I think what's quite nice is they show what it comes in, and they also show the packaging. And I think they probably show the packaging because a lot of these are probably bought as gifts, and they know that. So they are considering that with how they're displaying this. They're then showing off the title, they're showing the price, they're showing the number of like the overall score and the number of the reviews. And then I've got this option to add to bag. Let's hit add to bag and actually see if it adds it in. So it does add straight to bag from there, which again is probably a good thing. But I would imagine if I click on the image, it then takes me through to that individual page. And this is what I was referencing earlier in the video, right? We want to have a couple of different options. If the user likes the look of it, happy with the price, happy with what they can see, bang it in. Let's shorten that user journey. That's a really good win. But if we can't do that, we need to lead them through, then the user has these options to click through. I think the overall imagery that they have is really quite nice as well. So you do have a little video, a little GIF even, and it shows you how to use this, right? So it's showing it here. You add the drops in, you add in the water, you put the top on, you turn the light on, and it shows you how that's going to work. It's a really nice feature. And then even just showcasing the packaging, again, we're really highlighting the testimonials there and then in this area. And I feel like this is a much better use of what the imagery should be about. We've got lots of actual shots of it in use, so you've got an understanding of what it's going to be. We've still got our titles, we've still got our information, but everything just feels a little bit more digestible. And that's because we've got things like these bullet points, or these paragraphs are broken up, so we've got lines between them. We're using all caps, we're then just using bold, we've then got a line on its own. All of these things just make the content a little bit easier to read, a little bit more digestible. And then even these elements down here, you'll see everything is just broken up. It's nice and easy to take in. So this is what I think we really need to be doing with the other site. And lastly, don't be afraid to have this sort of imagery created, right? Which we're really explaining all the main benefits in a really easy, clean manner. We've got a little bit of text so I can read each one. I've got each of these elements around it, and it does a really good job of just explaining what the product is to me. Yes, we can still have that information over here, especially because this won't be readable by search engine. But for a user, this is going to be so much more beneficial for them to have a read of. So I want to just kind of finish with that final point, really. I feel pretty harsh, right, going through some of these things. But this is just, it's a brand new site. They're just trying to make some sales. They're a little bit unsure. You know, they've done a lot of this themselves. And that's fine. And that's a really good place to start. And what I hope kind of comes from this video is if you are a brand new e-commerce store just starting out, doing a lot of this yourself, hopefully you can see what a lot of what I've said is this are editable, right? You can create some of this imagery. You can tweak the menu around. You can change these opening big top imagery. We don't need to have all of these additional modules and sections in if we don't need them. There's a lot that we can do to really drive up that conversion rate. So hopefully this has been really useful, especially if you're, just started out on your e-commerce journey. If you have any websites that you want me to review, please let me know. You can also see some of my other videos just over here. And please leave any comments, any thoughts on what people think. And hopefully people don't think I've been too harsh. We'll speak soon. Bye.